Good afternoon, everyone. To start our program, the City of Gresham Police and Fire Honor Guard will present the colors. Would you please stand? You may be seated. The spectacular music entertainment that we've had during our meal has been provided by the Gresham High School Jazz Underground, not band. Mr. Budge, thank you very much. So we have one of those awkward logistical things that are going to happen. I could either make you clap the whole time that they're leaving, or I could do a little filler while they're leaving. They have to get back to school. Sorry, Mayor, they need to get their education a different way. So we're going to let them exit, and while they're exiting, we'll applaud them one more time, and then I have something I want to share with you.
Thanks, guys.
Before I start my prepared comments, I want to recognize a couple of people that are in the audience today. In the chamber, we have a leadership development program that's going on. It's called the Leadership Academy. And even though this wasn't a homework assignment, I have seen, I've recognized that a lot of them are here. Would the past and present Leadership Academy students please stand up so that we could recognize you? I could say they're future leaders, but I can tell you they're leaders already. It's a great program. So once again, good afternoon. My name is Lynn Snodgrass. I'm the CEO of the Gresham Area Chamber of Commerce, and on behalf of the Chamber and the City of Gresham, we both want to welcome you and thank you very much for coming today. I want you to look to your left. Now look to your right. Now look across the table. You just saw faces of leaders, and yes, someone was looking at you too. You are a leader. You're a role model to someone. You influence someone, and you have an impact on someone's life. That makes you a leader. In a few minutes, we're going to hear from a powerful and successful local leader. This is the third year in a row that the Gresham Chamber has had the opportunity to co-host this event with the city. And this is my third year of having the honor of introducing the mayor. Now, had I known last year that I was going to introduce the mayor again this year, I wouldn't have used all my good stuff last year. I would have saved some. And he wisely didn't ask me to introduce him until about a week ago, so I missed a whole year of accumulating things. So I had two choices. I could make stuff up. Could have changed that speech. Or I could compare him to me. Well, neither one of those are very good choices, but I took the second one because I know a lot about me. So like the mayor, I have been an elected official. At one point, I was the Speaker of the House of Representatives. And like the mayor position, the Speaker of the House position came with a lot of responsibility and, quite honestly, for me, some personal changes in how I did things. I haven't spoken to the mayor about this, and I'm not sure that he'd be totally comfortable telling me any challenges or personal changes that he's made in his personal life. But I can't imagine that there aren't some similarities. So here's a couple of mine, and you can relate them to him. I learned how to grocery shop at 10 o'clock at night so that I could shop without being interrupted. I can't tell you how many times I had to put the ice cream back in the freezer and get a new frozen one because my first one was melting in the shopping cart because a constituent was passionately telling me about something in the cereal aisle. On Sunday mornings, instead of reflecting on the sermon I just heard, I often had church members giving me their opinions about the newest legislation that had made the Oregonian headlines. Family dinners at home looked and felt more like a fast food drive-through lane instead of those sit down with the kids and talk about their school day. And bedtime stories, well, at that time, my kids were too old for them, but at bedtime, I was reading legislation or reviewing agency reports. I couldn't yell at a referee at a volleyball game anymore because that was unbecoming of a public official. Staying cool-headed when I was being criticized meant that I needed to use both ears long before I opened my mouth to respond. Quite honestly, that was one character trait that changed that my husband really enjoyed. Listen first, talk much later. I became conscious of how my hair looked, and I became careful about what clothes I wore. The mayor's not going to relate to either one of these. Our mayor slips every once in a while and admits by what he wears that he is a Duck fan. Totally dividing the community. I'm not sure there's anything more divisive than ducks and beavers, and there are a lot of beaver fans here that have to suppress that. I never made that mistake. Picking up the phone when it rang, not knowing if the call was going to be a compliment or a complaint, but being humbly ready, whichever it was. That's how leaders like our mayor respond. Humbly ready. He doesn't shy away from being a supportive husband, a caring father, or a decisive leader. And he doesn't shy away from speaking his mind, especially when it comes to anything Gresham. like the remodel of the Gresham High School. He is, as you may know, a graduate of Gresham High School, but when the school design was revealed and he had concerns, it was because he had a vested interest, but not a vested interest because he was a graduate or the mayor. He had a vested interest because he wanted it to be a Gresham legacy. He viewed the high school as part of our city history and therefore a Gresham legacy. As a Speaker of the House, I was expected to be an expert at everything and a problem solver to everyone. As Mayor of Gresham, being an expert and a problem solver goes with that territory as well. In fact, that territory goes beyond the Gresham borders and actually beyond the Oregon border as well. Our mayor can't go anywhere without being looked at and relied on as an expert, a problem solver, and a leader. In Washington, D.C. at the U.S. Conference of Mayors just this last January, Mayor Bemis was featured with 3 other mayors on MSNBC. There were hundreds of mayors there to choose from, and he was one of 4. He puts Gresham on the map. Now, I don't know if he's ever done that ice cream swap thing, but I'm sure that he's had similar daily challenges and changes to his life. But you wouldn't know that any of it might have bothered him because it hasn't slowed him down. Our mayor has made sacrifices in his personal life to be our leader. He's done it not for the money and not for the headlines. He's done it for Gresham. He's done it for you and I. Leaders make selfless sacrifices. Good leaders make selfless sacrifices naturally. Mayor Bemis is a natural leader. Since day one of taking office, he's been making Gresham great again without the red hat, and he will continue to lead us in that successful direction. I'm grateful to call him friend, and I am proud to call him mayor. Please welcome to stage our amazing and talented leader, Mayor Shane Bemis.
Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. Lynn, thank you so much for the introduction. Thank you for your partnership. Thank you for all that you do, the chamber members do, in order to move this community forward, in order to make sure that we're creating new leaders and getting new people involved. You're doing great work, and I really, really appreciate that. I didn't get that note about not yelling at the refs at my kids' game. Quick funny story, and Eric's gonna go crazy, but I was asked to, my son was playing basketball on a Saturday morning, I was asked to run the clock. So I'm running the clock. Well, it was really, really early Saturday morning. I was up really, really late the night before. And so I missed the clock a couple times. So the coach that was coaching for the other team, very passionate lady, yelled at me of the first time. Okay, all right, so I got it. So the second time I messed up, she screams to the stands, "Hey, we need a new clock person!" And I said, "Oh my gosh!" And so I might have said something that I probably shouldn't have said to her. Needless to say, I kept the clock for the rest of the time. But I want to thank you all for being here. I also want to thank the Gresham Armory for letting us convene again in this facility this year. And a huge thank you to the men and women of the Oregon National Guard for their outstanding service to our state and nation. We need no greater example of the ideal citizen than the people in uniform here today. So please show them your appreciation. City councilors, honored guests, friends, and neighbors, it is an incredible honor to be here today to speak about the state of our city. It is extraordinary to me that so many people would take times out of their busy schedules to join together as a group and discuss our mutual love for this terrific 113-year-old city. The process of developing this speech gives me the chance each year to spend a couple of months truly digging in on a granular level of detail about the successes that we've shared and the challenges that still lay ahead. Your presence here today gives me great confidence that we collectively are poised to realize opportunities and growth for many years. Everybody in this room has had a hand in our state of the city. And I want to take just a moment to point out some of my teammates on the City Council who have intimately contributed to our collective progress. Council President Kirk French is here, Councilors Carolyn Eccles, David Widmark, Jerry Hinton, Janine Gladfelter, and Mario Palmero are all here with us today. Please give them a hand. I have a lot to say today about the importance of cooperation and the necessity of caring for and nurturing representative democracy. And let me tell you, that starts with these 6 individuals here, and we are exceptionally fortunate to have such a dynamic, talented, and cooperative group. We don't always agree on everything, but we always know that everybody is leading with their true hearts for the community, and that is truly all that matters. We're also joined today by some elected and appointed officials whose partnership I truly deeply appreciate. And if you would, just save your applause for the end, and I will list them here. My friend Multnomah County Chair Deborah Kafori is here. Multnomah County Commissioner Lori Stegman, Multnomah County Sheriff Mike Reese, Metro Councilor Shirley Craddock, Metro Councilor Betty Dominguez, Mount Hood Community Board member Annette Matson, Reynolds School Board member Ricky Ruiz, Gresham Barlow School Board member John Hartsock, Sharon Garner, Chris Howitt, Reynolds Superintendent Linda Florence, Centennial Superintendent Paul Coakley, Gresham Barlow Superintendent Catrice Pereira, former City Councilor Carol Nielsen Hood is with us, and then of course my friends, the mayors, the partners in crime. We have Mayor John Clark from the Mayor of Tigard is with us, Mayor Lori DeReamer, the Mayor of Happy Valley, Mayor Tim Clark is here from Wood Village, and I think Casey Ryan is here somewhere. Has anybody seen Casey? Nope, gone again. Okay, all right. We also have representatives from both Senator Wyden's office and Congressman Blumenauer's office. And of course, I want to thank a couple folks at the city. I want to thank our exceptional city manager, Eric Kavarston. I have been fortunate enough to spend all of my career as mayor with the same city manager, and the community is better off for it. We've found a great lane to work in together. He runs this organization with an incredible professional manner and understands that we are here to serve you all, and that goes out through the entire organization through his leadership. Please give our exceptional city manager a hand. I also want to thank just a couple other people in my office. Eric Chambers, who many of you know. Eric and I started together in this job, and he's just been an exceptional professional and an exceptional friend. Thank you, Eric. Also want to introduce my family that's here. My mother, Corey Williamson, is here. My mother-in-law, Nora Boren. My wife, Alex Bemis. And of course, very good friends of mine, Joby and Arliss Butcher. Thank you for being here. All right, so President Reagan used to love to tell this joke, and as many of you know, he was a big joke teller. And he liked to tell this joke about this Republican that was running for Congress. So he was driving in his car, he was out running for Congress, and he was in a really blue area, really heavily Democratic. So he stopped, there was this farm, and he stopped. He got out of his car, he walked up, he told the farmer, he said, "Hi, I'm so-and-so, I'm a Republican running for Congress." The guy's jaw dropped, and he said, "Hold on, let me go get Ma, she ain't ever seen a Republican." So he runs in, goes and gets his wife. The congressman stands around, he says, "Well, where am I going to give this speech?" He looks for a podium, sees no podium, so he sees a big pile of cow manure out there. So he jumps up on the cow manure, he gets up ready to give his speech. The farmer and his wife come out. He gives his speech, he goes on, and then the farmer says to him, he says, "Boy, I ain't never heard a Republican speech before." And the congressman says, "Well, I've never given a Republican speech on a Democratic platform before." Ha ha, right? Well, I say that, but the irony of that is that's actually when Republicans and Democrats talk to each other. So I'm going to be honest with you. This is a weird time in public service. Divisiveness has acted like a contagion and caused some people on both sides to retreat into their camps and comfort zones. I get it. Our national governance can best be described as parents who don't get along with each other. National incomes have been frustratingly stagnant for a long time, and we are undergoing technological and social changes at a rate that feels too fast for many people and far, far too slow for many others. As a service provider on the local level, we do things like provide water to your homes, process wastewater, maintain parks, provide police services and fire suppression. We help save your life when you call 911. By and large, we don't play in many of the heated policy arenas that are haunted by our counterparts at the state and federal levels. But we are home to the same constituents, and we often end up on the front lines of trying to remind people, even people with broad political, religious, or social differences, that they probably kind of like each other. That job is made harder, of course, by apps that allow discord to rapidly spread to millions of people, 280 characters at a time. Let me tell you, there are times when I feel much more like a marriage counselor than I do a mayor. But I've learned over the past couple of years that maintaining and improving the vitality of our city has more to do with staying focused on the outcomes than it does with contemplating the constantly shifting landscape. Change is constant, but staying focused pays dividends. There is nowhere in which that is more true than in public safety. Despite the challenges that Gresham has always faced on the revenue side, due to having one of the lowest permanent property tax rates in Oregon, we have made substantial progress in public safety in recent years. In our police department, for example, Part 1 crimes, the most violent category of crime, including things like aggravated assault, robbery, and rape, are at a 5-year low, down even from the last year, which was also a 5-year low. Part 2 crimes, which capture more minor but still very impactful issues, remain largely flat over the past couple of years and 20% lower than their peak in 2011 and 2013. To give the whole picture, while violent crime is down, we have seen some increase in property crimes in recent years. This is in part due to a substantial increase in stolen vehicle cases. Now, a few years ago, the State Court of Appeals interpreted the stolen vehicle statute to essentially say that the suspect has to admit that he or she knew that the vehicle was stolen in order to face prosecution. Well, obviously, the criminal community caught on and now knows that a simple lie means that they can avoid jail and then keep stealing cars. Now, I don't think for a second that the good folks of Gresham have any interest in being soft on grand theft auto. Therefore, the City of Gresham will continue to push our colleagues in the state legislature to empower our stolen vehicle statute to do its job so that we can do our job on the local level and curb this disturbing trend. Despite obstacles that are often outside of our control, I am incredibly proud of the work that Gresham police officers do. Do you know that the Gresham Police Department's 94% homicide solve rate is 30% higher than the national average of 64%? In addition to solid patrol and investigation work, this past year also brought a reboot to our neighborhood enforcement team. NET is a collaboration between Gresham police officers and code personnel from our community development department, which dedicates resources to the worst chronic nuisances and livability issues in your specific neighborhoods. These are the folks who feverishly tackle chop shops and drug houses and who maintain order and livability while their colleagues are going from one 911 call to the next. In addition to our patrol program and special teams, we have had a consistent, dedicated police presence on Gresham's portion of the Springwater Trail for 3 years running. When Portland decided to completely abandon any hope of maintaining the trail for conventional use, we held the line firmly and put police officers on Gresham's portion of the alignment every day. Did it work? Well, not only is Gresham's portion of the trail still regularly and heavily used by our residents, but our crime statistics show the benefit of our approach. This chart shows the total number of cases our police department has fielded each year on the trail for the past 6 years, from a high of 46 cases in 2012 to a low of just 9 cases last year. Trust me, we will not ease off our vigilant enforcement efforts, and we will maintain our strong police presence on the Springwater Trail. Gresham's portion of the trail will remain safe and a healthy recreation and transportation opportunity for our families. When you're out there this summer, please be sure to thank the excellent police officers who help ensure that it stays that way. It would be difficult to discuss, yes, give it a hand. It would be difficult to discuss the Springwater Trail without taking a moment to discuss homelessness issues in Gresham and across the region. To be clear, Gresham has held strong on the enforcement side. We have city codes and livability rules for a reason, and we have no interest in letting any of those go. That may sound harsh, but there is nothing compassionate about letting mentally ill or severely addicted humans live in the squalor of a thin tent, and there's nothing acceptable about letting that happen in our neighborhoods. So what is Gresham doing about it? Well, through our ongoing partnership with Multnomah County, we have identified resources to help those experiencing homelessness, mental illness, and addiction, while also improving the livability of our city. The front line in these efforts is the city's homeless service specialist, Aaron Sando, who is on our streets and trails and in our parks every single day, building relationships with homeless individuals, driving them to services, and working with them to find permanent solutions and treatment. Here's a brief glimpse into some of the work that Aaron does to help those in our community.
What we try to accomplish is to assist our homeless population with getting back on their feet, helping them if they are in shelters. One of our goals is to assist with ID cards if they so choose, or even driver's license. We've assisted people with even CDLs, those truck licenses. So anything that we can do to assist them. They need those ID cards or birth certificates to apply for work or maybe an apartment so that they can step up a little.
Some places you can't even get a food box without ID.
If it's as simple as an ID card, we can get people those things, that the small piece they're missing, that they can maybe change the trajectory they're on.
They want to get out of those shelters. They really want to, start work. They want to do something. Like for example, this morning I came into the net meeting late because I had to go run to the shelter and take a lady for her job interview. She didn't have any pass for the bus or for the max, so I said, okay, I'll come and get you, and then I took her to the interview. So I hope that goes well.
They basically directed us to Aaron because they said that he would be able to help us as an individual.
And I would come here, I would see them, just sitting out sometimes under the trees or laying out in the grass, and I would just engage them, like, hey, if you had an ID card today, would that be something you look, oh, it shows, why can I do that? So the businesses like that, they like to see that we are, out here helping homeless folks solve some of the issues that, they pose on a daily basis.
Thank you, Aaron, for all the hard work that you're doing in the community. If you would have asked me 10 years ago if we'd have an employee in this arena, I would have told you no. But changing times require us to change and adjust with them. And this approach is what the pressures of this day demand. In addition to Aaron's work, I also announced our Clean Start program at last year's speech, which pays formerly homeless individuals to clean up garbage, litter, debris, and camps in Gresham. This program has the double benefit of helping formerly homeless individuals rediscover the dignity of work and compensation, while also getting a nice return on investment in terms of being able to expediently clean up problems in Gresham as soon as they happen. I'm very excited this year to announce a brand new program in this arena as well. As of March 5th, we have started a new partnership with Central City Concern called the Community Volunteer Corps, which is available to homeless people in Gresham who are seeking treatment, but who are earlier in the process than their counterparts who have graduated up to the Clean Start program. Participants in the Community Volunteer Corps program will be paid a daily stipend, will get reacquainted with the value of their labor, and will be a dedicated resource available 5 days a week to make our community better. They will pick up litter, paint curbs, remove graffiti, clean up the parks, work for local nonprofit agencies, and generally do anything we ask them to do that improves this community. And once again, none of these efforts would have been possible without our valued partnership with Multnomah County. I want to specifically recognize my friends, Chair Deborah Kafori and Commissioner Lori Stegman, who have delivered this investment to Gresham. Thank you. The county is our go-to agency when it comes to the social service side of the equation, but our partnership has increased, obviously, in recent years. Where overlap exists, silos must not hamper our outcomes. We couldn't do these things without their help, so I thank them again. While we work hard on the services and opportunity side of the equation, I want to be very, very clear about our priorities around code enforcement. We will not tolerate dilapidated RVs taking up residence in our neighborhood streets. We won't turn a blind eye to camping in our parks or public spaces, and we will be vigilant in monitoring and enforcing our parks rules for everybody. The consequence for repeated violations of park rules can include being excluded from the park in question, and that is a tool that we will use this summer to ensure that our parks are safe and accessible for all of our families. We know how much of a priority homelessness is for the community, and for that reason, we will continue to do everything that we can to lift people out of their circumstances and hold the line on our local codes and laws. But let me take just a moment to lay out for you the state and federal actions or inactions that have got us into this mess and place the sole responsibility for solving it on the shoulders of the people in this room. Did you know that between 1955 and 2005, Oregon reduced the number of public psychiatric hospital beds from nearly 300 per 100,000 residents to under 20 beds per 100,000 residents today? That is a staggering 93.3% decrease in psychiatric beds. To make it worse, the widespread emergence of opiates as the go-to prescription of our medical community has resulted in a frightening addiction epidemic. There are 3.2 million opiate prescriptions issued in Oregon each year. That is 92 opiate prescriptions for every 100 residents in this state. That number is scary. Prescription drugs are expensive, and once dependencies are established, a vicious cycle begins, whereby the addiction becomes the only thing that matters, and for economic reasons, people experience this addiction turn to cheaper alternatives, street-level drugs like methamphetamine, heroin, synthetic fentanyl. Are we seeing that here? Well, you bet we are. According to Multnomah County's needle exchange data, there are over 4 million needles distributed each year, and 46% of the needle exchange clients are street-level homeless individuals. At 3 needles per day per user, that would suggest that there are roughly 1,680 street-level homeless needle users in the county. Now, there was a day when local governments were more about Sunday potlucks in the park and speeding cars in the neighborhood. Well, those days have been replaced by local governments increasingly being called upon to address the disinvestments and policy failures on the state and federal level. Hey, look, we're up to the challenge and we'll do our job, but we need your help in terms of demanding from our electeds better representation on psychiatric care and the out-of-control drug epidemic. That is one reason that innovation is so important in local government. We are responding to new challenges in new ways because we have to. That is why we have continued to expand project response services by pairing behavioral health clinicians with some of our traditional police services. Our officers increasingly are being asked to perform as frontline mental health practitioners. They are tremendous, but they need help and they need the right tools. We are undergoing similar shifts and innovations in our fire and EMS services. We used to just be in the 911 business. You'd call 911 and we'd beat the ambulance there. Once stabilized, we'd hand the patient off for transport and that'd be the end of things. What we're learning now is that doing more can actually increase efficiency and save money in the long term. We launched a pilot project in 2016 to deploy a quick response vehicle, or QRV, which is able to respond to emergency medical calls more efficiently and without having to roll out the big red fire engines. We saw the quality of our service advantage we could realize through the QRV, and I'm happy to report that 2018 marks its return to the force. We will continue our progress with innovative approaches like the QRV, and we'll use data strategically to decide how best to deploy our life-saving personnel. Of course, we are also still very much in the old-fashioned fire suppression business. I could not be more proud of the men and women of the Gresham Fire Department. They do everything that is asked of them and more, protecting Gresham and also stepping up to help protect others as well. Last summer, when the Columbia River Gorge was going up in flames and ash was falling on our homes, Gresham firefighters were called upon to help. They leapt into action, drove into the fire, and they were the first company on site at Multnomah Falls. Now, I don't exaggerate when I tell you how perilous of a situation that was. Because they arrived first, they became the incident commanders for the other departments that joined later. The lodge caretaker basically tossed them the keys and said there was cookie and pop and don't let her burn. As the night wore on and into the next day, they would fight back waves of flames as they came down the hill towards the wood shingled structure. We called them in the morning to check in. We asked them about the state of the lodge and the historic bridge over the falls. Listen, they said, after working 20 straight hours. Chief, cover your ears. There's no bleeping way any of this is going down on our watch. Yeah, that's right. Go ahead. You think these men and women are committed to the job? They take that same intensity and commitment to every structure fire in our city, and we are extremely fortunate to have the very best serving us right here in Gresham. Of course, I could not speak about our amazing Gresham firefighters without taking a moment to give probably one of the hardest goodbyes I've ever had to give. Last month, Gresham Fire Chief Greg Matthews notified us of his intent to retire. Not only is Chief Matthews amongst one of my closest friends, but he embodies what public service looks like and what it means to put our residents first in everything. He has served in the U.S. Army, served as a Gresham police officer, served as a Gresham firefighter, served as a state legislator, and has served as our fire chief. And of course, he's also served as the DJ and MC for every single community event we've had in Gresham in the past 30 years, and I know none of you are going to let him retire from that. In geeky political science and public administration circles, you will hear philosophical discussions from time to time about the ideal public servant. What does it look like to enlist one's maximum talent and commitment into the service of others, and to do so for an entire career? Well, that looks like Greg. Greg, stand up so your hometown can give you the thank you that you deserve. Greg is a Gresham kid who grew up with a supportive community in a place that he loves. And that is our ambition for every kid in Gresham. The City Council has had no ambiguity in speaking to our top priority, fostering the best possible environment for our children and families. I've spoken in past years about the city's ongoing effort to restore youth recreation. Our Summer Kids in the Park program is entering its 5th year of free summer programming for Gresham youth. Our Friday night basketball program is also added a Saturday night, and we've added a Saturday night, and we've now added Sunday futsal program as well. This past year also brought the opening of the beautiful new Rockwood Boys and Girls Club, a partnership with the city's urban renewal agency. All of these efforts together have created thousands and thousands of hours for our youth to pursue healthy activities and avoid the idle time that too often leads to less healthy behaviors. We are also entering a renaissance of sorts in Gresham schools. With bond measures successfully approved in both Reynolds and Gresham Barlow school districts, we are poised for one of the largest reinvestments in Gresham schools that we have ever seen. I was also very happy to see that, yes. I was also very happy to see the district put the brakes on last year just briefly to get the design right for the historic nature of Gresham High School so that it would be preserved and honored as the facility is rebuilt. The good news in Gresham schools does not stop with the reinvestment in facilities. We're also seeing advances in academic performances in our schools as well. Every single high school in Gresham saw increases last year in their graduation rate. Yes, come on. Barlow, Centennial, and Gresham High School all have graduation rates that exceed the state average of 76.6%. Now, just to be clear, as Oregonians, none of us should be happy with the average of 76.6%. Nevertheless, the advances we are seeing in Gresham show remarkable progress in just a single year, and I'm convinced that it is a sign of things to come as our community continues to rally around and invest in our children. I want to specifically mention my appreciation for the partnership that I have enjoyed with Gresham Barlow's new superintendent, Dr. Pereira. Since the moment I met her, I knew that I liked her, and I knew that her energy and passion would breathe new life into our school system and set the bar very high for expectations around improvement and performance. Dr. Pereira, thank you for your commitment to excellence, and thank you for your valued partnership. Another key component to educational success is early childhood literacy. I'm pleased to report that this last year, my wife Alex and I teamed up to launch the Gresham Reads program, a partnership where restaurants across Gresham promote reading and access to books for Gresham's youngest residents. Alex keeps the books, Gresham Reads kiosk, stocked with fresh books and for our kids to read at 5 area restaurants, including Burgerville, Sugar Cube Cakes, Blondie's Pizza, Sherry's, and Tortilleria y Tienda de Leon. The kids can enjoy the books while they dine or take them home with them afterwards. Research has shown that the only behavioral measure that correlates significantly with the reading scores is the number of books available in the home. So we want to do everything we can to make them available for all the children in Gresham. This program, though, depends in part on the generous donations we get of used children's books, so if you have any, we'd love to have them at City Hall. Providing a great place for children and families also means investing in our parks. You've heard me speak about my excitement for the development of the Hogan Butte Nature Park in past State of the City speeches. Well, now it is finally complete and it is more beautiful than we ever imagined. We compiled a short video just in case you haven't made it up there yet.
When me and my kids have come up here, we see families, we see visitors. I go back and tell everybody, if you've got a visitor in town, you've got to come up here and show them what Gresham really is, because you can see it from Hogan Butte. We've seen the neighborhood come in and really utilize this as a great place to walk and exercise around the paths, as well as just be with family. I've seen so many family photos taken at this beautiful site. I'm looking forward to bringing my son up here for his senior pictures next year. It's a great place to capture moments and memories together with your family, with your friends, with your guests, because the scenery is gorgeous and the space is just peaceful.
It's a place that is very close to the city, but in a few minutes you can come up here and be completely away. And I think that's something that the citizens are really going to value, that ability to have a special quiet place to come and contemplate and get away from the hustle and bustle of life in the city.
Isn't it? How many people have been up there? All right, good. Maybe next year's State of the City. In addition to our grand opening at Hogan Butte, 2017 also brought us another great year of community events, including the Gresham's Arts Festival, which now draws over 20,000 people to downtown Gresham. Rock the Block, Spirit of Christmas, and Music Mondays put on by our awesome volunteers at the Center for the Arts Foundation. You just can't beat a warm summer evening with good live music on a beautiful plaza downtown, shared with your friends and your neighbors. Speaking of art, our friends at Gresham Outdoor Public Art have made outstanding contributions to our community with 4 recent installations of public art and at the Nadaka Nature Park. Gresham has a long heritage of enjoying live music and appreciating art, and it's awesome to see that the community is stepping forward again and taking exceptional leaps to support a robust and vibrant arts experience for our residents to enjoy right here in Gresham. Thank you, Gresham Outdoor Public Art. So, great parks, good schools, opportunities for youth, vibrant commercial areas, robust community events, art, and public safety are all critical components to Gresham's success in attracting young families. In addition to those items I just mentioned, one of the most common questions I've been asked over the years relates to the quality and condition of Gresham's roads. Look, we get to do fun things like open Hogan Butte, enjoy town festivals and all that, but we also have to deal with the potholes, and I profoundly understand that responsibility. I was very pleased during this speech last year to announce our 5-year plan to reconstruct every failed residential street in Gresham. Our work is now in progress with results to show for it. All told, at the end of this 5-year plan, we will have reconstructed 25% of Gresham's residential streets. To put it plainly, it is the most ambitious street maintenance infrastructure effort in Gresham's history, and I cannot wait to see it fully come to fruition. The days are numbered for those infuriating cracks in the asphalt in your neighborhood streets. It's impossible to overstate the importance of that street-level neighborhood livability. The core of local government will always fall directly on our families and the neighborhoods in which they live. 2017 brought us a major revamp in Gresham's Office of Neighborhoods and Community Engagement, now run by Michael Gonzalez, a longtime Gresham resident. Michael is hard at work getting Gresham's previously defunct neighborhood associations up and running and providing support for Gresham's other long-standing healthy neighborhoods as well. Neighborhood associations serve many functions, be it land use, advocacy, or organization. But they also provide opportunities to just be neighbors and to have some fun. This summer, Michael will be taking a block party trailer from neighborhood to neighborhood all summer long, hosting barbecues and neighborhood get-togethers. We'll bring the burgers and the music, you bring your neighbors, and together we'll grow the social fabric that makes Gresham thrive. We've also completely realigned our code enforcement services to better integrate Gresham's livability efforts with the needs of our neighborhoods. We've split off the nasty stuff like zombie houses, chop shops, drug operations. We've put those issues with the neighborhood enforcement team where they belong. We don't need to be nice to folks who'd prey on our neighborhoods and make us stay awake all night. As for the other stuff, overgrown shrubs, long grass, chipping paint, and so on, we put those services in the neighborhood office under the new management of Jessica Harper, who you may know from her previous role as assistant to the mayor. In case you were wondering if the new manager knows what it's like to get a heavy-handed communication from the city for a minor issue, well, rest assured, after answering the phone in my office for the past 4 years, she has a profound understanding of how frustrating that can be. Our approach on these issues is transforming. We're focusing on compliance as opposed to the heavy hand of enforcement. So here's an example. A couple weeks ago, our code enforcement officers were responding to a complaint of a utility trailer that had been filled with debris and was parked on a city street adjacent to its owner's home. Our code officer responded to the call, but instead of generating a nasty letter to the homeowner with threats of fines, he did something really simple. He knocked on the door. An elderly woman answered the door. She expressed embarrassment that the trailer hadn't been emptied and explained that her husband was ill. Our code officer came back to City Hall that day with a plan. The crew went back to the woman's home, emptied the load from the trailer, and disposed of it properly. They moved the trailer off the street for her and back onto her property. You want to know something really crazy? That actually saved us money, because the amount of bureaucratic process that would have otherwise gone into the case over several weeks was avoided. Happy resident, happy neighbors, problem solved, more efficient services, and that's where we're headed here. Thank you. Stay tuned, because we will also be launching a new volunteer effort in the coming months to assist in this new approach to code compliance and livability. A good number of our code cases stem from the property owner being elderly, disabled, or impoverished. They express strong desire to deal with the issue and often express embarrassment that it hasn't been handled yet. And now I know that Gresham is full of residents who don't hesitate to help their neighbors when they're called upon. So this year we'll be launching the Gresham's Neighbors Helping Neighbors program, where we will put a bunch of these code cases to bed by deploying good-hearted volunteers to help mow the grass or trim the hedge when the property owners are unable to do so themselves. In addition to neighborhood livability, our children, families, and neighborhoods also need a robust economy and good jobs to thrive. Do you remember a while back in the midst of the Great Recession where we'd get together as a group and we'd talk about our hopes for better days? Well, our planning and hard work back then paid off. You have undoubtedly seen the progress on the Gresham Vista site, but that is just the most visible marker of what is happening across the city. In 2017, our economic development staff assisted in the completion of 1.7 million square feet of new industrial space, with an additional nearly 900,000 square feet set to begin in 2018. One of those projects will be home to Gresham's newest high-tech manufacturer, a firm from the United Kingdom that will be making an $80 million investment in Gresham this year and providing 60 family wage jobs. 2018 also brought the recruitment of Migration Brewing to Gresham, our first large-scale brewing facility. We were able to help attract migration to Rockwood through an Urban Renewal New Industries grant. They are a great employer, and their facility will contribute substantially to the urban form of the area, with their plans including a tasting room and a brew pub. You want to keep your eyes on this. My understanding is, Councilor French, you've already got an office there? To speak about square footage of traded sector industrial space in the millions was nearly inconceivable a short while back. But streamlining our industrial review process, ensuring that our fees are on a very competitive edge of the region, and partnering with exceptional entities like the Port of Portland has put us in this position, and the growth is poised to continue at an awesome pace for years to come. I'm also happy to report the growth and development we've had in our residential building permits. In the past 3 years, we have issued more permits citywide for single-family homes than we did in the 6 prior years combined. And housing starts for 2018 through February are already double over the same period in 2017. Much of that growth is occurring in Pleasant Valley, which has been home to around 200 housing starts in the past 3 years. Pleasant Valley is on its way to becoming the excellent, vibrant neighborhood we envisioned. There have been some growing pains here and there, but Council has been clear that our parks and amenities need to be developed simultaneously with housing developments as they occur going forward. While I'm on the topic of housing, I do want to speak briefly to our regional issues with housing affordability. There are many different interests and perspectives on this issue, and there is no doubt that different jurisdictions will take different approaches. In Gresham, we have committed to making data-driven decisions on the topic, and we will seek input from all of the interests in the community. Immediately, the City Council is forming a housing affordability task force, which will have a good balance of perspectives amongst its membership, and which will make recommendations to the City Council. Those with different opinions on this topic will sit across the table from each other, and they'll engage respectfully while working through some really tough questions. While we are excited to see the results of the task force work, people on every side of the housing issue can celebrate the recent growth in Pleasant Valley, and growth elsewhere in Gresham will certainly help with the supply side of the affordability equation, which is a critical component to any solution. There is so much good stuff going on in this community. Where other cities have fallen to divisions, infighting, and grumpiness, Gresham has stayed together, and we fought hard against those forces that would divide us. I started this speech today by mentioning the strange times we find ourselves in, and how much anxiety and grumpiness can interfere with our collective responsibility to govern and to make progress. My intent today is not to sound delicate. Trust me, I couldn't have spent this much time in public service without a thick skin. I'm not asking you to protect our egos over at City Hall. But I do want to make the case. I do want to make the case for community cohesion and civility in an era where it seems like too often we've lost track of those core values. especially at the state and federal levels of government. We've all heard the old adage about retirees at the coffee shop who meet up every morning to discuss politics and solve the world's problems. Republicans and Democrats, best friends, fishing buddies, setting party aside and enjoying each other's company. Don't let go of that. If you are a Democrat and you don't have a close personal friend who is a Republican, go find one. If you're a Republican and you don't have a dear friend who affiliates with the Democrats, don't hesitate, go find one. Mine's Deborah Kafori. It may seem like hyperbole, but I believe that the health of our city, and as an extension, the health of our state and our nation, depend on it. Now, I'm not trying to see the world through rose-colored glasses, and I'm well aware that there's plenty to be grumpy about. But where does that get us? At the end of the day, we need each other. We need our community to be cohesive. We need to be able to set aside party affiliations on Friday evenings in the fall, go find our seats in the stands, and be Gresham Gophers. Or maybe, if you insist, Barlow Bruins. It's not lost on me, Madam Speaker, that the colors here are Barlow Bruin colors as well. That's okay. They're doing great. It's a school of Olympians. Holy cow. Olympians keep coming out of Barlow. It's great. I joke, but my point is, community is delicate. Solomon's old proverb rings true today. Scoffers set a city aflame, but the wise turn away wrath. Representative democracy must be purposely nurtured, or it will fail. And we can accomplish a whole heck of a lot more together than anybody can when civics and civility break down. We need only to look to social media to see some on point, if not also a bit humorous examples of what the breakdown of civil discourse can look like. Exhibit A. This is one of my Facebook posts from a couple months ago about speaking to Elders in Action Civics 101 class that visited City Hall. I was invited to chat with them about different ways to get involved in their community. Pretty controversial, right? I mean, what can be more polarizing than speaking to our honored citizens about the values of community and democracy? Well, here's the post it generated. How about fixing the roads, getting rid of the homeless, lowering our taxes instead of posing for photo ops? Okay, I get it. Roads, homelessness, taxation, all important issues. And we've talked about all of them today. But can't we focus on all of those important issues and also spend some time with our senior citizens? Here's another post reflecting on the city's advances in clean energy and celebrating the national recognition and $800,000 in savings our efforts return to our residents each year. And the response? Great job to the mayor back in 2014. At least that's the date on the award. Well, I kind of agree with that one. I mean, after all, I was the mayor in 2014. And finally, a recent example reporting on the accomplishments of some outstanding young women who were honored at the Gresham Seroptimus Live Your Dreams Award luncheon. Now, what could our collective snarkiness possibly go after on this one? Well, here you have it. Must be nice to get a free dinner all the time. Well, let me tell you, if it makes you feel any better, that event was held at the Gresham's Elks Lodge, where my mother is in charge of the kitchen. And anytime you have lunch with my mother, it comes with a list. So there's no such thing as a free lunch, my friend. Like I said, I get a chuckle out of these, and I am well aware that sometimes people just need a venue to vent their frustrations. All I want is for us to also give ourselves the opportunity to pause from time to time and reflect on the exceptional community that we are building together. We have something extremely special in Gresham. We have one of the most diverse communities in Oregon, with a broad mix of incomes and livelihoods, where people can attend schools that look like the world and the workforce that they'll someday enter, and where they actually stand a chance of meeting a friend who was born in a different country or who prays in a different church, where languages and cultures and food vary widely, but where basic neighborliness still stands a chance. No offense to my colleagues in other communities in the region, but they can't always say the same for their cities. Here's the thing. If we want to be a part of the salve that heals our fractured democracy, we have to actively choose to do so each and every day. We have to unite in confronting those who seek first to divide us, distract us, and depress our collective goodwill. Believe me, if we can hold this together, we can accomplish amazing things. Gresham has done that. Huge credit to my colleagues on the City Council, currently and in the past, who have purposefully treated each other with respect and led first with their hearts for the community. And what has that civility gotten us in the past decade? Well, it's gotten us an awful lot. Together we built the Gresham Sports Park. We built the Downtown Arts Plaza. We built a beautiful recreation fountain for our children. We established one of the nation's most innovative rental housing inspection programs to safeguard the livability and health of some of our most vulnerable residents. Our wastewater treatment plant became a net energy producer, one of the first in the nation to do so, saving ratepayers a whole bunch of money. We launched the Garage to Storefront program, filling over 225,000 square feet of previously vacant retail space with 144 new or expanding small businesses, all during the worst economic downturn since the Great Depression. We established the Neighborhood Enforcement Team to work with residents on chronic neighborhood livability and law enforcement issues. We put cops on the max. We launched Citizens, Volunteers, and Policing and protected our portion of the Springwater Trail. We constructed the ROCKWOOD Police Facility. Our Urban Renewal Agency has leveraged $97 million in private investment, helped establish over 400 new jobs, and generated $36 million in new tax revenue for public projects that improve the lives of the people in that community. We built the Hogan Butte Nature Park, one of the region's flagship vistas with sweeping views of our Cascade Mountains, our Columbia River Gorge. We partnered with Friends of the Children, Boys and Girls Club, Family of Friends, Latino Network, the Portland Opportunities Industrialization Center to bring a critical array of children's services to Gresham. We brought back summer recreation for our kids in the parks. We built new futsal courts. We partnered with Multnomah County to deliver services to address homelessness, in part by giving homeless people the dignity of a job that help them make their community better. We funded and launched the most ambitious street maintenance infrastructure plan in the city's 113-year history, and we're rebuilding our schools. We restored Gresham's community festivals, events, arts, music, generated record attendance and participation, and a whole heck of a lot of smiles. We accomplished all of these things and so many more by staying together. Every single milestone that I just mentioned could have been lost to the ether if personalities, grumpiness, or trolls had prevailed. We have a record of outstanding accomplishments because we choose to accomplish them together. Cooperation is not an accident, it is an outcome. The list of accomplishments shows that the power of unity in retrospect, but let's also consider what we have to gain right now and on the very near horizon by working together. Positive developments are happening in every corner of this city, from Rockwood to Civic to downtown. In Rockwood, we have awesome service providers located in the Rockwood Community Office, including the Metro East Community Media Digital Makers Studio and Micro Enterprise Services of Oregon. Across the street, the Rockwood Rising Project will immediately enhance the urban form of the area with a building for services, a local vendor market hall, an urban plaza, new housing. And as I mentioned earlier, just to the west of that, we have a campus filled with new services and beautiful new buildings, including Open School, Boys and Girls Club, and Latino Network. To the north, Migration Brewing's new Gresham operation is underway, a beautiful building, good jobs, great beer. Over in Civic, we have 4 parcels currently underway for development, which will add vibrancy, housing, and economic activity to the neighborhood. Across the street, we have the Kmart property on Burnside, which is essentially a huge developable land bank and will be targeted for vibrant redevelopment on the near horizon. In our historic downtown, we have so many exciting projects that are underway, which will collectively solidify what has been occurring for years. Gresham's downtown is becoming one of the most vibrant urban neighborhoods in the region. For starters, Gresham High School is getting a rebuild, but keeping an important architectural nod to our history. To the south, an innovative housing project is underway, which will bring a Salish Ponds-like cottage living experience to Gresham's downtown core. To the west, Dr. McKeel's recent redevelopment project, a beautiful and hip new watering hole across from the library, set to open very soon. Directly adjacent, but fronting Main, McKeel also has plans for a larger project that would include a brewery, housing, additional retail, and reinvigorate a large and critical parcel in our downtown. And further east on 3rd, a beautiful new urban townhomes are planned for Beach Street across from the Arts Plaza. Downtown has become the go-to place for craft beer, ethnic dining, cakes, candy, coffee, ice cream, froyo, hip retail, urban living, pho, community festivals, parades, summer days at the fountain, fizzy drinks and fancy bars, art, music, first dates, dog walks, book clubs, bubble tea. Yeah, all that. It caters to our young creatives, our red hat ladies, our families, our foodies, our beer geeks, and our art enthusiasts alike. Be proud of that. Be proud of how your community is growing up, and in particular, be proud of how we're doing that together. Self-governance is a huge burden, but it's one we have always welcomed as Americans. We knew the stakes, and we determined that we were up to the challenge of moving our community forward and investing in future generations. Look, I can't always figure out what's going on in our world right now either, but I can tell you that there's a hard-working platoon of volunteers at the Gresham Historical Society curating our collective story. There's a service project being planned at the Rotary Club. The bingo numbers are being called for Betty Chisholm and her friends over at the Elks Lodge. A group of amazing women are equipping the next generation at the Seroptimus Club, and a vibrant coffee group is having a heated discussion right now at Jazzy Bagel. The point is, we are brimming with wonderful people who make this community great. There are folks who have given their whole lives to this community, some whom we have lost recently. My former colleague on the City Council, Dave Shields, comes to mind. Dave passed away last month after a long fight with cancer, and I learned so much from him over the years. He was firm and fearless, and he was smart enough to take on anybody who dared distracted him from having his city become the city that he thought it ought to be. Dave was one of the toughest people I've encountered in politics, but his toughness had nothing to do with his ego. He cared about this community as much as he cared about anything, and he led with his heart, always. And that's all any of us can hope to achieve. Cooperation and mutual respect are so foreign to the political discourse of our day that they seem almost absurd. That's okay. A great American agrarian poet once said, "As soon as the generals and politicos can predict the emotions of your mind, lose it." Okay, so let's continue to make the ridiculous decision to like each other, to respect our community, and to focus on progress. Reject negativity and confront the trolls. Let's aim to leave our mark on the community like Dave Shields did, so that we can achieve the simple but wise rule of scouting to leave this place better than we found it. This room is full of people who are already all in. You are the reason that this job is fun. You are a generation of community leaders who know the value of collective progress and who have decided that we will get there together. Thank you for that. Because of you, I can stand here today and say that the state of our city is undivided. And because of that, we are strong. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Every time you turn your head, you run into your neighbor. The trees touch the sky. Hey, will you do me a favor in Gresham? Gresham, get a taste of the world from our Rockwood folks. Is that a tractor in the drive-thru? This town's no joke. I feel alive. Gresham, Gresham Historical Society in Gresham. Oh, Gresham, baby, I love you. Yes, I do. If you ever get bored, travel back to 1904, where the legends and lore began. We got a teddy bear parade, and our main man Spud. Our buttes are more beautiful, and we're more fun in Gresham. Oh, Gresham, baby, I love you. Oh, baby, yes, I do. Yes, I do, Gresham. Gresham, I love you. Gresham, I love you. Sing it with me, boys. Gresham, I love you. Gresham, I love you.